Welcome back to my BattleMap tutorials. Today we're going to discuss grave shadow overlays. So again, just the basically the shadow overlays that you could put on different things to make it look like grave markers. So what you want to do is, you don't have to do this step, but it makes it a little bit easier. Go out to Google and type in Dungini grave, and you'll see you'll have lots of different grave markers out there. What you want to do is just save one of those. I've already got them saved as, whoops, as you can see, sorry. Graveyards, I've got tons of different ones out there. So what you want to do is just open one up. Doesn't really matter which one. You're just using this for basically a guide. Then you want to drag, I usually use a grass background because that's usually what the grave markers are on. And then you want to create a new layer. Go to your brush, select a brush. I usually like a varied splatter brush rather than a hard brush. Okay, and once you select the brush, about 60 pixels for me is fine. This will change depending how far you're zoomed in. Right now my grave marker is about 200 pixels wide. You want to set your opacity down to about 18 and your flow down to about 14 or so. Again, these are more how heavy of a hand you have when painting. So then what you want to do is just sort of trace the outline of the grave slab, grave marker. Okay, and then you can actually just hide that. And as you can see, we sort of already have basically our standard outline. Okay, now what I usually do is I'll create a couple of these, and here we'll create a mass grave here. Create a nice large one, multiple berries. So again, just the shape, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, diggers are not perfect when they're digging. I'll put a few indentations in there. The dirt's settled unevenly. Put in maybe a upper mound. So these are basically multiple bodies buried in here. And you can do the same with this, and then so we'll sort of create an irregular one. And again, you want to try and do them all about the same size. Right now I'm using a scale of about 200 pixels. Now what I'll do is I'll probably scale these down a bit. So again, what you want to do is Control T. I do it all on the same layer so they all scale. Because if you look at this, that's a 10, almost 15 foot wide grave, some of these. That's clearly way too big. So what I do is I just scale them down and then check to make sure it's about 5 foot wide, my standard marker or standard grave. And that's it. Now when you zoom them down, that's why I like doing them big. They do come out a little bit light. But if you notice, when you cut this up, you can paste one, which sort of looks good. You can make a duplicate layer, and it sort of looks darker. I'll make another layer, and then I'll drag this one off because that was a little bit too dark. And then you just can rearrange them in different orders. You can make a circle out of them. So again, what I'll do is I'll just try and have them a little bit light and create multiples of them. And so again, we'll duplicate that. That's still a little bit too dark there. I'm not a big fan of mass graves. And so you can turn this around or angle it, and we'll do that one. So you can change the darkness just by doing them if you do light ones, or you can do another thing. Another thing you can do is you can duplicate and layer them differently. So this will give you a little bit more variation on your grave markers. And so you can have, you know, more variety with less work, I guess. So again, this was making these grave markers here that I use on my BattleMap. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.